And welcome to Chapter 2. We're going to be discussing the second part or the second chapter of the NASM CPT certification. Talking about the personal training professional, kind of like the day-to-day operations of everything that would be going on for this chapter. So things to pay attention to for this, we're going to be talking more about, day-to-day operations, kind of clubs you'd work in, independent contractors, versus working with the corporation, and then getting into the kind of the ins and outs of how a daily procedure would work. So let's kind of take you through all the nuts and bolts of this. So the first thing here, though, is just remember that, and when we're talking about the landscape of everything, we want to be combining everything in terms of education and certification. That's going to be critical. There has been a shift, and you've seen that throughout a lot of the organizations and a lot of the major organizations and within school systems, that they're really promoting this. Not only do you need to have a certification now, but you really need to work toward that education piece, because there may be some sort of lack in some things like kinesiology and other aspects like exercise science pieces and everything like that. So that's really where that comes from. So really getting your personal training cert is one of the first steps, but obviously there's an educational piece that really needs to come with that besides just what you learn from this manual. All right. And then once you get that certification, the main thing here is kind of continuing education and advancing your skills, advancing your knowledge, making you have a very wide range of people that you can work with. And then, like it says there, that those last three words, evidence-based fitness. What we're talking about is using the science behind why we do certain things within the fitness realm. All right. So with everything going on today, if you look at that second bullet point, I kind of skipped it over at first, but just understand that we're going to grow. This field is going to grow because we're going to need more. As our landscape itself is becoming more and more unhealthy, so we need to be the people that make them more and more healthy. All right. So what's the whole main thing here is that, through generational pieces, we need to understand that we will be working with all of these individuals, whether it be the silent generation, which you can see their time frames, a lot of baby boomers who are coming off of retirement, who are probably not in the best of shape in some ways, your Xers, your millenniums, and then your new group, which is your Gen Zs, which is anybody born after 97. All right. So what is our responsibility here? Besides just the education certification, well, we want to design appropriate programs that are integrated. And by integrated, it means taking a lot of components and putting them together. Balance and coordination, core strength, regular resistance training, overall movement quality. And then, obviously there's a cardiorespiratory piece, but there's also that healing part as well. All right. And we really want to be able to evolve from just making people look good to making them feel better. And, so that's why weight loss is key. Injury prevention is key. Athletic performance is key. Again, performance can mean anything from weight loss to on the field. So that performance piece is always there. And then also your functional improvement strategies and how to just move better and how to get somebody to move better and also change them behaviorally. All right. So moving from that education certification, let's talk about the job opportunities. Well, we basically can say that there's a bunch of different types. Now, if you look on the left side here in that chart, you'll see low cost. Those are your things like Planet Fitness and similar facilities that, basically, if you think about it, maybe charge below $50 per month per membership. Mid-market, I would say anywhere between $50 and $100 per month. Now, we're talking about regular facilities. We're not talking about like your CrossFits and your boot camp based types of facilities. So a little bit different there. Your mid-market is that range. You're probably going to have a little bit more. Probably as an employee, you're going to be paid a little bit more, whereas the low cost, you're going to get a lot lower of a salary because you got to figure the demographic, but also how much these people are paying per month. It's going to be very hard for you to charge them a lot for personal training. Now, premium, those are your Equinox, your Lifetime, Lifestyle. It's Lifetime Fitness. All right, Lifetime Fitness is one of those places that has a lot of amenities to it. There's a lot of in-house products, but you're going to be the person that's going to, again, if you're charging $150 or more per month, you know that you can charge a decent rate and make pretty good money when you're working within one of those premium style health clubs. And then lastly is your nonprofits like your YMCAs. Now, they do have a large, like, they have a large following, but also there's a lot of activity types of things that can go on in there. They're very big on group classes. There's a lot of things that can come from that, all right? So what are we seeing though is that within these commercial health clubs is that, there's roughly around the country is about 210,000 facilities housing about 180 million members. Now, just remember, of those 180 million, how many of those people are really going on a regular basis is really the problem. So even if we increase our memberships, really what is, if no one's going, what's that matter? We have to get them in the door. And then once we get them in the door, we can find a way to use marketing and sales to kind of lure them in. So employment opportunities are there. They're potentially on the rise, which we are hoping, especially with this COVID state. We don't, not saying about sickness or anything, but people have become very unhealthy in these sedentary times. And then lastly, I put in the bottom there the IHRSA. The IHRSA is the people that really give you this kind of like demographic information that I highlighted. They're really, they really look out for their health clubs, and they give a lot of detail on how to make your facilities better. And, a lot of these commercial gyms are usually IHRSA, certified per se, and they take part in a lot of these statistics. So it kind of gives you a good idea as to where our framework comes from, especially within a commercial health club. Now, within, employment opportunities here, if you look there, again, studios and health clubs, private or personal training studios and health clubs. Those are the more common. There's at home, so traveling. There's online, which is starting to take over a lot because you can do a lot more with that person, and they don't have to be in your presence. And then organizational wellness, and we're talking, that's more like when you go into like a company and you're doing like coming in at like noontime and you're doing like a lunch workout, but you're going into the company. So organizational wellness, that's another thing that, these larger corporations are moving to, is that they're trying to make their people healthier. Healthier people are, the lower the insurance cost and the better off it is for everybody. But how do we get these positions here? Are you an independent contractor, meaning that you are a 1099 person, meaning that you get your IRS statement in a 1099, meaning you're contracted, meaning you have to pay out taxes for yourself. So you're, versus, a corporation or a professional company that takes it out for you. So, that's not the exact bottom line, but that's one of the main components to that, is that are you hired by yourself and then you get pulled into a facility, or does the facility actually, take you in as one of their employees? All right. And then, there's one thing here that we didn't cover, and that is, training under the table, getting cash, just outside of a facility, it's not necessarily illegal, but it's you're really kind of going against like a code of conduct, an ethical kind of a concern, because, you're taking away from really the facilities and the other places that you could work for and that you could be a part of. So you need to, just be aware of those situations. So, what are we talking about? Small group training. Those are types of things where, you can make it affordable for more people. It's a way that you can, really actually make more money per hour, but you're not going to get as many sessions per day, as you would. But it says here, can entertain upwards of 30 or more participants. With that, if you figure if you have 30 more participants and you charge them $10, that's $300 in that 1 hour session. And so that's really where it comes into play. It's like, yeah, but if you have 30 people at that one time, when's your next session going to be? So that's where it becomes a little bit different. It's like, well, if you had 10 people that you had throughout the day and you charged them $50 an hour, that's $500 across the whole day. Whereas you made $300 in that 1 hour, but then it might be scarce to find, people to make up the rest part of your day. So you have to be picking and choosing about how you want to be able to make that and make it more affordable, yet you want to be the one that's still making good money for that. And I know it's not all about money, but we get the idea and the advent here. There's also other employment opportunities like hit based, so high intensity interval training places, boot camp places, custom group workout places, and all of those, like it says here, they may require additional education. They may require a different level of communication, a different skill, different coaching skill, because it's going to take you a lot to be able to hone in on that. So there might be more that has to come with it, but that's all part of your continuing education and trying to expand your brand. Okay. So again, we were talking about some of these other things here, like online fitness coaching. Although new, it's not really new, but it's a newer model. And it's one of those things where you can be your own person, and you can either do it live or you can do it pre-recorded. And so sometimes that depends. But is it more personalized for them or is it more pre-designed? So that's really what it comes down to. So it's really kind of tough because you have to figure out your own demographic. And that's really the challenge that you have to work on. Because without finding your demographic, it really becomes a challenge, because you might be giving people the wrong advice, or not even the wrong advice, but you might be giving them the wrong platform, and really that can they can struggle with that because they're they don't fit what you're trying to do, and so they're not getting the most out of what it is. So you have to be aware of everything around you. So that really can become a problem. But again, if you know your demographic, if you know your people, if you know what you're up against, if you know that a camera works for you, and you can be live and sitting in front of a camera telling people what to do, and you see them and doing what they're doing, that can be something that can be very lucrative. And you don't have to leave. You can kind of just train people in your pajamas, So it's just part of that process. So you got the job. But how do we progress? And that's really what it comes down to is, do we work up to that fitness manager or that personal training manager? Do we, including things like it says here, not only are you training on, but a lot of times you're staffing, and staff scheduling, you're providing mentorship and trying to be the professional, you're holding meetings to make your team better. But you need to be aware that you're also going to serve the members as well, and you still want to be active. You don't want to take away, if you're a training manager, you don't want to take away your training because it keeps you on the go and in the loop. So it's a process. Now, from there, you can step up to the general manager who runs the whole facility. A little bit different. You got to put a sales pitch into there, a sales part of that. It might require additional education. Just depends on what you're looking to do. And then from there, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a step up, but you could also become your own facility owner. But usually as a GM, if you're starting to get the feel for it and you really feel like you can get the financial backing that you need, then a facility owner can be somebody that can be part of that, that could be part of your repertoire. Other things, master instructors, people that are going to be the true professional that train trainers, and get them to be better. Writers and bloggers, you can be writing articles, blogs, you can do video logs, things that will help you to get your brand out there. Strength and conditioning coaches, more education, different certification. Now, NASM in this realm offers a performance enhancement specialist, PES. That's their sport-based. Or you could go with NSCA, who has the certified strength and conditioning specialist, and that's going to be getting you there. But again, the CSCS requires a bachelor's degree, whereas the PES, it requires you to have some background, but there also is requirements that you should be a trainer at that point as well. Now, social media influencer, yeah, you can do that, but again, you want to put your education out there. A lot of misinformation is out there from true social media influencers. So, we need to change the landscape of who's really giving this information to people, and all these fads, and I hate to mince words here, but stupid information that's out there, that really can make a difference. The other thing here, is you could also do what I do and kind of mesh both worlds together and become, a professor or, a college instructor, trade school instructor that can help, again, train trainers to be, like what I'm doing now is I'm trying to help everybody to become the professional that, I am, because that makes our, our world, our fitness world a lot more clearer, and it makes it so that we can, help propel it's not dying, I don't want to say, a field that sometimes doesn't get the recognition that it deserves for what it does. And that's really a problem that we run into. So what do we got to be? We have to be creative. We have to be organized, unconventional, and vulnerable when we put ourselves out there for our resume, to get that job. Creative, find ways to just make yourself, and all these things are just finding ways to make you stand out more than the next, okay? But vulnerable, that's the one that probably is like, what? But you want to show, in your resume that you are still going to learn, you're still going to grow, you're going to show that you have had successes and failures, and so that, you don't want to highlight your failures, but you want to put those things out there. So, key components here, this is always critical. Now, it doesn't have to be in this template, but you want to make sure you have your contact info. There is a new way of resume writing where they want you to put your social media kind of out there. You want to summarize what everything is going on in your world and who you are and what you're doing. All right. Then we work into those other parts of the template. You want to put your work experience in there, and you can put both professional, meaning within your profession that you're trying to get to, like this personal training profession. You could put or you can even put your own work experience that may not relate, but it might have some influence on, like if you were a manager of a restaurant, well, that makes a big difference. It shows that you can lead people. Put your education in there. Now, education, if you notice on the template here, it says that there's your certification in there. So you can have your education piece. You can also have a certification part of your template if you want to, and then other interests or skills that you might have there as well. And those are really important to show who you are overall. So then it's like, okay, you put your resume out there, they want to bring you in. Well, you already kind of want to know where you're looking for a job. Even if that's something as simple as going to Indeed.com and putting in a search. So then you get called in, make sure you're dressing for the part. Professional business attire is necessary. Make sure that you pre-interview everything. Look at the job description, become familiar with it. Look at the company and really know who they are, because that's going to help you in the interview. Know their mission statement, know their values. That's really important. Have some practice interview questions that you can answer, and actually kind of have somebody ask you those, and you have to answer them to that person. And then have some questions for the interviewer, because it shows that you're actually caring. All right. And then from there, within the interview, bring extra copies of a resume, bring a pad and pen to write down things on. Again, be professional, arrive early, look the part, be well groomed. Don't go crazy with excessive makeup. Careful with how much jewelry you wear, and then just be careful with extreme hairstyles, because you want to show the professional piece. It doesn't mean that you can't be your own person once you become the trainer, because that's what sets you apart. But when you're trying to get the job, tone it back just a little bit is what we're saying. Shake hands, make eye contact. It's COVID now, so maybe air high five. I don't know, but that depending upon what was going on. Again, ask questions. Know the responsibilities. Understand the culture of the business, because if you find out more information about that, you can get more into what you're talking about and understand the interview a little bit more. Make sure you answer your questions crisp, clear, concise, and then use good examples of your own personal stuff that goes on. And then, good posture, sit up straight, don't slouch, be that professional. And then, how do you follow up? Really, do you send an email, make a phone call, thank them before you leave, obviously, but all those follow-ups can show that you really care. So, put your resume in, went for the interview, got the job. What's your day look like? Well, it varies per person, and this is just one way. But typically, if you look 6 to 9, you have your morning clients. That's pretty accurate. The next wave, if you look, is around 12 to 2. Sometimes you might have lunchtime clients. And then your second and your third wave would be your evening clients. Now, depending upon how late, like it says 4 to 6:30, it might be, 8 o'clock is your last one. But again, you usually have broken up days. You have a morning and an evening session, and maybe sometimes people in the midday. So you pick your places where you can fit in your administrative duties, your paperwork, your planning and programming, because you shouldn't just be giving people at will programs. You want to be clear, concise with your programming as well. All right, so that's just kind of a day in the life of, really kind of cool to see, but that's fairly accurate for the most part. Things are a little bit different in terms of times, but you get the idea. So, again, what are we trying, a day in the life of, making sure that we're AED and CPR certified, first aid certified if you need to be. Very, very important. It doesn't mean it's mandatory for AED, but you should, because just in case of something, you should. Um, and that really becomes critical. Now, again, with operational components, making sure that you're being accountable, you're supportive, you give feedback and guidance, and you get the results that you're looking for. All of that will give you that proper customer service that we're looking for and we're trying to be part of with our everyday life. And we want to be able to do that because if we can be accountable, supportive, give the proper feedback, give the right guidance, and then get the results, our customer service level goes up and it makes us look really good where people will keep coming back. And that's very, very critical for us. The more people come back, the more word of mouth, the better off you are. And then, it's not just about the training part, but, there's a sales component to everything as well. So, we have to identify those certain levels that are there. So making sure you know who your customers are, what are the solutions that needed to be, figured out. And then, really it's more about, solving the needs of each person. And then you go from there to how do you get prospects? Do you get referrals, walk-ins, things like that? Building your relationships is really a big component to that. And that could, building your relationships could lead to the next person, to the next person, to the next person. And then setting your financial goals, again, that's forecasting. What are you looking for? How can you make your living? And then, again, show your value, show who you are. Make sure that you know that you are worth the money that people are going to be paying for it. So then what do? You have unique selling propositions, which are basically the ways that you are unique and that you can basically market yourself to other people. There are examples down there, but if you're a person who trains athletes, then you want to market toward that, but you're still going to work with general clients, but you might want to if you are geared toward athletes, then you go from there. Then you end up, again, trying to find out all of the things that you're working really well with and things that you're struggling with. So you do what we call SWOT analysis, and from there, what you do is to help build your brand, you find your strengths, your weaknesses, you find the opportunities that are out there, and then you find your threats. Now, threats can be anything from you might have limited space to train people. Threats might be where you might have a gym that's being built a half a mile down the road, and now you're going to have to compete for people. So it just depends on what those are. All right. And then, your weaknesses, again, if you're not confident in taking payments from people or asking people for money, then we have to find a way to build that brand to be able to understand how to make that better for everybody. So then from there, we always want to work on the 4 Ps. That's really, and this is actually marketing 101. You'll find this in any marketing class that you would ever take at like a college, but product, price, place, and promotion. All right. What is the product that you're providing? What are you providing as you? What's the price going to be? Pretty straight. How are we going to sell what we're selling? Where are you doing it? If you're at a facility, then you're at a facility. If you're at a local park, then you're at a park. And then how do we promote it? Are we using social media? Are we using email? Are we using word of mouth referrals? What is it that we're doing? Are we putting things into like a local magazine or a website? So it's really important that we figure those things out to make ourselves out there. So again, we talked about social media, but really having a presence, again, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, there's so many, with the way that Snapchat is going right now, you just never know what you have available to you, but you can always put things out there. Are you going out and networking? One of the things that one of my friends has done over the years is he's actually gone to like bridal shows. And even though bridal shows are predominantly females, there are actually males that go there too. And, having a guy and a girl come through that are, looking to get married, that, they want to look good for their wedding, it's a good place to start. And then emails, always finding distribution lists, asking friends who have emails of their friends who might want to join. So you're always trying to find ways to be creative to get that word out there. And then lastly, with continuing education, it's one of those things where, where do we find our opportunities? Are we going to seminars, workshops? Are we doing online CEUs through NASM, through other organizations that correlate to what we're looking for? Or are we taking college courses? Because we always want to stay up to date with everything so that we don't fall behind in the times and learn what's new. So, that's really what it comes down to. So once you have that continuing ed piece, well, then we can work toward finding our niche. Who do we really want to work with? Do we want to specialize in older people? Do we want to specialize in young to middle-aged athletes? Do we want to, work with pregnant women, special needs individuals? So it really becomes a trick to who we want to look for and be a part of that group. Doesn't mean we dismiss everybody else, but that's who we would specialize in. And then people know that you're the specialized person for that in the area or at your facility or whatever it may be. And then from there, what do we look for? Yeah, obviously increased pay. We're looking for different compensation routes and things like that. So, again, more of the day-to-day living, of that, how that personal trainer really functions throughout everything, and how do we make ourselves better in that term. So pretty straightforward for chapter 2, nothing too crazy. But again, please pay attention to those marketing cues, pay attention to the sales process, pay attention to the resume, just so that we can understand everything that comes in, not just about how we train people. Have a good day.